G'day, I'm Paul. So this is one of the best-selling cars in Australia. Since we first drove it in 2020, the Toyota RAV4 has climbed almost $10,000. So is it still worth the money? That's what I want to find out today. This is called the XSE. It's the hybrid two-wheel drive version. It's around mid-spec in the RAV4 range. This competes with things like the Mazda CX-5, the Kia Sportage, Nissan X-Trail. It's that size of vehicle, although some of those vehicles offer 7 seats, whereas this is strictly a 5-seater. This one here is priced now at just under $50,000. If that's too expensive, the entire range kicks off at just under 40 grand. Today we're going to do a detailed review of this car, so if you do want to skip ahead to other parts of this review, you can use the time codes that are on the screen, or if you're on YouTube, you can scroll down and use the chapters below. If you haven't done so already, subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon so you can find out every single time we drive a car that's become significantly more expensive. Now let's talk exterior design. And look, to be fair, most cars in this segment have actually gone up in price. It was just when I was flicking back between our notes on the 2020 Cruiser two-wheel drive hybrid that we drove and then looked at the pricing today and realized that it's gone up 10 grand. I was like, holy crap, that is a lot of money over just 3 years' time. Now, optional colors, $675. On the design front, I still think this looks sensational. It is just the right size for a vehicle in this segment. And I think it really has that good split between style and just a bit of substance as well. I like this headlight upgrade they did as part of the facelift, and you'll see inside the cabin as well, some of that tech has become significantly better too. And this is all stuff that we had complained about when we originally drove the car. So full LED headlights, you have Toyota logo here with the blue section to signify that it's a hybrid, and then some piano black as you tear yourself down the bottom there. Come around to the side here, let's have a look at these wheels. Nice and chubby profile on these tyres as well. It's an 18-inch alloy wheel with piano black there. And then what have we got there? A 60 profile tyre, so it should mean that it rides nicely. A bit of piano black on the wheel arches, a hybrid badge there. No 360 camera here, so just the indicator built into the wing mirror. The camera would typically sit under here, and that's available on upper grades. Roof rails, you have privacy glass, a little bit of chrome around the top there, and then come to the back with me. Now, around the back here, you've got partial LED taillights. That big price jump hasn't given you full LED taillights yet. Another hybrid badge there, RAV4 here as well, and then blue highlights there on that Toyota logo. So let me know in the comments section below, do you think this is still a good looking car? And what do you reckon about the price rise, not just on this, but across the segment? Do you think it's out of control? Keen for your feedback. Let me know in the comments section below. So we are inside the RAV4. Start off with the key. So you've got a lock button, unlock, boot, then on the back there, Toyota and RAV4. Proximity sensing key, so you can leave that in your pocket. Once you're inside, you have a push button start just over here. Now, updated RAV4. We actually haven't driven one of these for a little while now, and I like that they've taken our feedback on board with a lot of this interior and actually made it a whole lot nicer. So, big infotainment system up here. So this has grown since the last version of this that we drove. I also still really like the fact that there are soft touch materials as you work your way down, along with these rubber sections here for the cooling system, and then a screen, a full-size screen ahead of the driver as well. So it all looks pretty nice to me. Now, what about your touch points? So nice and soft there, soft on the door as well. How soft are they? We've got our durometer. We've tested the main surfaces in this cabin. If you do want to see how this car compares to others that we've tested before, have a look at the link in the description below. Now, build quality. A little bit wonky there, but not too bad. That's what the door sounds like. So, infotainment, and before I jump into that, I just wanted to mention that this now comes with remote services as well. So you have a little ejector switch here with an SOS button if you do need to call emergency services. You also have the ability to communicate with the car using your phone via an app, which is cool. So you do have those connected services that come standard, and it's free for a set period once you buy the car. So you have an infotainment display here. There's a little that is a little under 11 inches in size. It's all a color touchscreen with inbuilt satellite navigation. Nice and quick and sharp there. It's got Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. Apple CarPlay is wireless, Android Auto is wired. I'll show you what Apple CarPlay looks like. On the audio front, you have AM, FM, and DAB digital radio. And then in addition to that, you also have the ability to have a look at your energy flow and a couple of other sort of bits and pieces here. Head of the driver is a 12.3-inch display, so this gives you all of your critical functions. Nice and easy to use, and you control that here using the buttons on the steering wheel. Now, what about your safety tech? So you've got autonomous emergency braking with pedestrian and cyclist detection and auto dimming rear vision mirror. You have radar cruise control. You've got a lane tracing assistant, blind spot monitor built into the wing mirror. You have a junction assistant as well. You've also got rear cross traffic alert, front and rear parking sensors, and then a reverse view camera. I'll show you what that looks like. Lots of noises and beeps, but the quality of that is fantastic. That looks really nice. And this is what the horn sounds like. Now moving on to practicality, you've got a USB-A port down the front here with a 12-volt outlet. You have a wireless phone charger. In the center console here, you've got 2 USB-C outlets. In terms of storing your phone, you can kind of just whack that anywhere, down on the phone charger if you like. What about your other stuff? So your coffee cup, how does that go? Fits into there nicely, no de-lidding. Your water bottle fits into there as well, which is good. Let's see if the big one fits in the door. No, it doesn't. A little bit disappointing. You've got another couple of storage bits. So one up the top here, you've got a card holder a little beneath that. Big old center console there. You've got glove box over here that's reasonably sized. A little ledge here to pop your bits and pieces. And finally, a sunglasses holder up the top. So comfort, you have dual zone automatic climate control, heated seats here for the front row. Driver's seat is electrically adjustable, so you can go forwards and backwards. You can lift the front of the seat, the back of the seat. You can adjust your backrest. You have lumbar adjustment too. Passenger seat is manually adjustable. Quite like these seats. You've got like a textured section down here and this faux leather stuff up the top. Steering wheel sits nicely in the hand, and you have tilt and reach adjustment. On our reach test, all of this stuff is easy to reach while you're driving. So back seat. Actually, now, before I talk about the back seat, I really don't like that this door only opens up to there. Look at that. If you look at the Subaru Forester as an example, that goes almost to 90 degrees. It means getting kids in and out is a little bit tricky. So a bit of a design flaw there, I reckon. In terms of room though, there is stacks of space here. So lots of knee room, toe room is great, headroom is really good. My seat's reclined a bit because you have 2 stages of recline here. Mat pocket on this side, you've got air vents down here, 2 USB-C ports, a center armrest here with 2 cup holders, ISOFIX points on your outboard seats and 3 top tether points as well. And most importantly, does the window go all the way down? So it's auto up and down. Boom, look at that. So cargo space, what does it look like? You have a powered tailgate. Very slow one. So you have up to 580 litres of cargo space here available in 2 tiers. Beneath the cargo floor, you have a space saver spare tyre, and then you can move that cargo lid to its secondary position there to give you slightly more room. In addition to that, you've got a 12-volt outlet off to the side here, plus some hooks as well. Show you what it looks like with our bags in there. So there's our laptop bag. There's the suitcase. So it's pretty big. There's actually a stack of room in here, which is good. Then you can expand the space even further by dropping that second row out of the way. We don't have a figure for that, so there you go. It is just a much bigger space. Okay, we're on the road in the RAV4 XSE two-wheel drive hybrid. Like all of Toyota's hybrid products, it is silent when you set off, and that's the whole principle behind these hybrid vehicles that Toyota runs. What they try and do is have the vehicle set off on electric power. Then what it does is once you get to a point where the electric power is no longer useful, it kicks the internal combustion engine on, but it takes away that huge amount of energy required to get the car moving from a standing start. So it does really well at that. This, now that other people have started doing hybrids, especially Nissan with its e-Power hybrid, this is one of the less refined hybrid units on the market. It is so noisy, and especially at startup when it decides that it needs to warm up the engine, it is really making a racket before it's up and running. And I just wish Toyota could refine it a little bit, because it is just quite agricultural in that sense. It does achieve what it needs to achieve in terms of economy and sort of taking off on EV and all that sort of stuff, but I just wish it had a little bit more refinement to it and you didn't get as much noise in the cabin when you started doing stuff. Now, what does it all feel like behind the wheel? So the two-wheel drive version uses a 2.5 litre naturally aspirated petrol engine. That petrol engine makes 131 kilowatts of power and just over 200 newton meters of torque, but it is mated wired to an 88 kilowatt, 200 Newton meter electric motor. And just as a reminder, Newton meters is the force, the sort of push you get in the back when you hit the throttle. And that is the important number, because the more of that you have, the faster the car will feel when you are accelerating. And if I stand on the throttle here, what the car's doing is it's giving me all of the torque from the internal combustion engine, and then also giving me torque from the electric motor. That means that I'm getting a near instant push in the back from the electric motor, and then as the internal combustion engine kicks on, it gives me a little bit more of a push as well. Now, Toyota claims a combined fuel economy of just under 5 litres per 100 k's. We're currently sitting on 6.3, so higher than the claim. Typically with Toyota stuff, it is actually pretty efficient, but never sort of spot on. And if you have a look at that figure just there, that is pretty similar to what we've seen before in vehicles like the Nissan X-Trail e-Power. So I think that while Toyota stuff is good, it sometimes doesn't quite meet the claimed figure. Now let's talk about the ride. So in and around the city, the ride is fantastic. Those big profile tyres mean that it's nice and smooth and soft as you drive over things. That's also mated with a suspension system that is nice and smooth as well. They really have thought about making this a comfortable vehicle. It's why you see so many Toyotas as Ubers. You just hop in, you've got plenty of room in the back, they're just nice and comfortable to drive and also be a passenger in. But what does all that feel like when the speed picks up? We've got our sine waves coming up here. So our sine waves are a really good measure of what body control for a vehicle is like. We do these at 130 k's an hour, which is the maximum speed limit in Australia. And they're a consecutive set of bumps, and basically a vehicle with good body control won't be uncontrolled at the top end, whereas a vehicle with bad body control will stay quite high and out of control. Yeah, so this is pretty bouncy, and that comes down to the suspension just being a little soft, but really isn't the end of the world. Time for some bumpy road driving. We do this very bumpy and corrugated stretch of road at 90 k's an hour. It gives us a good indication of what this is like. If you take it out to the country, you go regional, which is where Toyota sells a lot of its vehicles. I'll just increase the speed to 90 k's an hour. We've got a condensed sine wave here as well. Be curious to see how this goes. Soft vehicles tend to not do that well across here. Wow, that is really not good. Never had that happen before. So because it is so softly sprung, it doesn't have enough time to fall into the divot. So it's skating across the top of those corrugations, and it's causing the car to just float around. And that's bad news if you're driving on a corrugated stretch of road, because you won't have a great deal of control over how the car tracks. And then if you do need to turn or do any sudden movements, it is going to just skate across the top of those corrugations. So that's really not very good. It shows you that this car has been tuned more for city driving, which is fine. But if you do drive it out in the country, just be careful with things like corrugated roads, because it doesn't seem like it's tuned for that. Now, drive modes, you've got Eco, Normal and Sport. Let's whack it into Sport mode. Go for a little punt around our ride and handling track and see what it feels like. So being softly sprung, it's going to have most likely a bit of body roll. Yes, it does. But it's interesting, it actually, yes, it has body roll, but it's not out of control. It's kind of quite predictable. You know what it's going to do. And the punch here from that electric motor and the internal combustion engine is it's fantastic. It gives you a nice little bit of pep through the corners. Even now as we're driving along here at higher speed, there is a lot of noise coming into the cabin from tyres and the wind. Steering feel is good, and look, most people aren't going to drive like this, but we test all of our cars back to back in the same way around our ride and handling tracks. So yeah, look, it is. It's actually pretty impressive for what it is. It's not sort of groundbreaking, but it isn't actually as bad as I thought it would be for a vehicle that is this softly sprung. Now let's talk about road noise. I was actually quite surprised at how poor it is in the car. I don't know if it's just a perception thing, but when I was driving along on the freeway, all I could hear was trucks next to me. I had to really turn the audio up so that it would drown out the noise of the vehicles around me. And then a lot of wind noise as well, but it is sort of quite windy today. So these are the results up against our calibrated sound meter. If you do want to see how the RAV4 compares to other cars in the segment, have a look at the link in the description below. Now, what about your visibility? So I can see clearly down the front of the car there, big wing mirrors too with a blind spot monitor built in, visibility out the back is really good as well. You've got an 11-metre turning circle and in theory a driving range of a little over 1,000 kilometres, which I think is pretty decent for a vehicle like this. Now, we'll mention as well, you do actually have an EV mode, so you push that and it will go into full EV mode. So it says there that the battery's low at the moment, but once it is charged and you do push that, it allows you to go into EV mode. But the problem is when you do get on the throttle, it kind of jumps out of EV mode pretty quickly. So not exactly the best system in the world, and I don't know that many people get use out of that button. Okay, so let's talk autonomous systems. We'll see how it works here on our bowl. So the way that we do this, I set cruise control at 70 k's an hour, and then we check to see how well the lane centering system works. So there it is there. So this has both a lane keeping assistant and a lane centering system. So that's currently active. It's doing a good job here in the first lane. We're going to jump to the two outer lanes that have a slightly bigger banking, and in theory the car needs to put in more torque on the steering, and it should mean then that it puts more stress on it and it has to work harder to achieve that. So let's see how we go here in the second lane. Wait for that to activate. All right, that is running. All right, that is doing a good job there, keeping us centered to this lane. Excellent. All right, we'll jump up to the outer lane. Okay, so let me get my head around the GoPro here to see when that's active. Just wait for that to lock on. Still waiting. Still waiting. All right. That doesn't look like it's going to lock on there. It doesn't look like it's going to lock on. It can't quite detect the lane markings, or because of the steering input, it's not willing to do that. It's also quite windy today out there, so yep. All right, so it's a pass in, sorry, so I crane my head over the GoPro here. So it's a pass in lane 1 and 2, but it looks like it's unwilling to actually lock anything in there in lane 3. A little bit disappointing. So time to do a little bit of performance testing. We're going to see how quick this is in a straight line. Before we do that, I just wanted to tell you about Help Me CarExpert, inspired by our friends at CarWow. If you are looking for a car like this, these still have like an 18-month, 2-year waiting list. If you can't be bothered waiting, we do actually have a stack of vetted dealers that have competitive vehicles in stock, like Outlander, X-Trail, CX-5, that kind of thing. If you do want to get connected with one of our vetted dealers who are primed to get you the best deal, just go to Google and type in Help Me CarExpert and we will get all of that sorted for you. Okie dokie, so let's do a little bit of straight line performance testing. I'm going to pop this into sport mode. I'm going to switch traction control off, just because it is front wheel drive. I suspect it'll get a bit of slip off the line there. All right, that is all on and running. Here we go. Not too bad for traction off the line. I'm going to go all the way through to 120 as well. That's 100. And there's 120. Right, we will come to a stop. And let's have a look at our performance figures. So, 0 to 100, 8.29 seconds. It's actually not that bad. I thought it was going to be worse than that. So, for a front-wheel drive hybrid, that's actually not terrible. 80 to 125.58 seconds, so not too bad. Nothing sort of too crazy there. All right, let's head back and do a break from 100 k's an hour. All right, we'll get this to a little over 100 k's an hour. All right, here we go. Did you hear that noise? Far out, that is very concerning. Just concerning from the point of view that if you're just a regular person driving this car and you have to slam the brakes on, if I heard that sound, I would think there was something going wrong with the car. So, yeah, that's not a good noise at all. But 100 to 0 took 2.86 seconds and 41.72 metres. So, okay, but not amazing there in terms of a stopping distance. If you do want to see how this car compares to others that we've tested before, have a look at the link in the description below. Okay, and now our reverse acceleration test. So I'm going to turn traction control off because it was quicker in the Hilux with that off. So here we go. Oh, that was quite an eventful 30 kilometres an hour. So the RAV4, what do we reckon? Look, firstly, I think this is the pick of the bunch. The XSE is right where it needs to be. Yes, you do get a few more bells and whistles in the Cruiser, but I think this is right where it needs to be in terms of spec, efficiency, all that sort of stuff. And the hybrid in front-wheel drive form is quite good. I don't think you really need to go down the path of all-wheel drive unless you want to do some light off-roading. And we did do that once. You can click up here to watch the video on that. But how does the RAV4 go up against all of its competitors now that they have been updated over the past 3 years since we last drove it? Well, that's a different story. I do think the e-Power product from Nissan is actually far nicer to drive than this is. This is somewhat unrefined. It doesn't feel as good. There are also a few quirks in here that I think they need to get sorted. Some of those safety systems can be a little bit annoying. So just a couple of things to balance up. It is still a fantastic car, but would I wait 2 years for one with some of the other competitors out there at the moment? Probably not. So I am keen for your feedback. Let me know in the comments section below. What do you think? Have you bought one of these? What has it been like? Are you waiting for one? Did you buy something else? I always want to find out. If you did enjoy this video, please make sure you like it and you share it with your mates. And if you haven't done so already, subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon. But until next time, see you later.